35. Because of an increase of affection, the cows had constant attachment, even to those calves that were grown up and had stopped sucking milk from their mothers. When Baladeva saw this attachment, he was unable to understand the reason for it, and thus he began to consider it as follows. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The cows had younger calves who had started sucking milk from their mothers, and some of the cows had newly given birth. But now, because of love, the cows enthusiastically showed their affection for the older calves, which had left off milking. These calves were grown up, but still the mothers wanted to feed them. Therefore, Balarama was a little surprised, and he wanted to inquire from Krishna about the reason for their behavior. The mothers were actually more anxious to feed the older calves, although the new calves were present, because the older calves were expansions of Krishna. These surprising events were taking place by the manipulation of Yoga Maya. There are two Mayas working under the direction of Krishna. Mahamaya, the energy of the material nature of the material world, and Yoga Maya, the energy of the spiritual world. These uncommon events were taking place because of the influence of Yoga Maya. From the very day on which Brahma stole the calves and boys, Yogamaya acted in such a way that the residents of Vrindavana, including even Lord Balarama, could not understand how Yogamaya was working and causing such uncommon things to happen. But as Yogamaya gradually acted, Balarama in particular was able to understand what was happening, and therefore he inquired from Krishna. Text 36. What is this wonderful phenomenon? The affection of all the inhabitants of Raja, including me, toward these boys and calves, is increasing as never before, just like our affection for Lord Krishna, the super soul of all living instances. Purport. The increase of affection was not Maya, rather, because Krishna had expanded himself as everything, and because the whole life of everyone in Vrindavana was meant for Krishna. The cows, because of affection for Krishna, had more affection for the older calves than for the newer calves, and the men increased in their affection for their sons. Balarama was astonished to see all the residents of Vrindavana so affectionate toward their own children, exactly as they had been for Krishna. Similarly, the cows had grown from affectionate toward their calves as much as toward Krishna. Balarama was surprised to see the acts of Yogamaya. Therefore, he inquired from Krishna, what is happening here? What is this mystery? Text 37. Who is this mystic power, and where has she come from? Is she a demigod or a demoness? She must be the illusory energy of my master, Lord Krishna. For who else can bewilder me? Okay. Purport. Balarama was surprised. This extraordinary show of affection, he thought, was something mystical, performed either by the demigods or some wonderful man. Otherwise, how could this wonderful change take place? This my Maya might be some Rakshasi Maya, he thought. But how can Rakshasi Maya have any influence upon me? This is not possible. Therefore, it must be the Maya of Krishna. He thus concluded that the mystical change must have been caused by Krishna, whom Balarama considers his worshipable personality of Godhead. He thought, it is arranged by Krishna, and even I could not check its mystic power. Thus, Balarama understood that all three boys and calves were only expansions of Krishna. Text 38. Thinking in this way, Lord Balarama was able to see with the eye of transcendental knowledge that all these calves and Krishna's friends were expansions of the form of Sri Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Every individual is different. There are even differences between twin brothers. Yet, when Krishna expanded himself as the boys and calves, each boy and each calf appeared in its own original feature, with the same individual way of acting, the same tendencies, the same color, the same dress, and so on. For Krishna manifested himself with all these differences. That was Krishna's opulence. Yeah, so Krishna has this uh, transcendental opulence. Lord Baladeva said, O Supreme Controller, these boys are not great demigods, as I previously thought, nor are these calves great sages, like Narada. Now I can see that you alone are manifesting yourself in all varieties of difference. Although one, you are existing in the different forms of the calves and boys. Please explain this to me. Having thus been requested by Lord Balarama, Krishna explained the whole situation, and Balarama understood it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Inquiring from Krishna about the actual situation, Lord Balarama said, my dear Krishna, in the beginning I thought that all these cows and calves and cowherd boys were either guests, sages, and saintly persons, or demigods. But at the present, it appears that they are actually your expansions. They are all you. You yourself are playing as the calves and cows and boys. They are. What is the mystery of this situation? Where have those other calves and cows and boys gone? And why are you expanding yourself as the cows? Uh, Will you kindly tell me what is the cause? At the request of Balarama, Krishna briefly explained the whole situation, how the calves and boys were stolen by Brahma, and how he was concealing the incident by expanding himself so that people would not know that the original cow, calves, and boys were missing. Balarama understood, therefore, that this was not Maya, but Krishna's opulence. Krishna had all opulences, and this was but another opulence of Krishna. At first, Lord Balarama said, I thought that these boys and calves were a display of the power of great sages, like Narada. But now I see that all these boys and calves are you, after inquiring from Krishna. Lord Baladeva understood that Krishna himself had made such. Let's start all over again. After inquiring from Krishna, Lord Balarama understood that Krishna himself had become many. That the Lord can do this is stated in Brahma Samhita 5:33. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. Although he is one, he can expand himself in so many forms. According to the Vedic version, Ekam Bahushyam, he can expand himself into many thousands and millions, but still remain one. In that sense, everything is spiritual because everything is an expansion of Krishna. That is everything is uh, expansion either of Krishna himself or of his potency. Because the potency is non-different from the potency and the potent are one. Shakti, Shakti Matur, Abhedaha. The Mayavadis, however, say Chit Achit, Saman Vatvaya. Spirit and matter are one. This is wrong. This is a wrong conception. Spirit, Chit, is different from matter, Achit. As explained by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 7.4-5. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kamano budirevacha ahankara ityame pina pakritirastada apariyam itastwanyam pakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yagyadam daryate jagat. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these, all together, these eight comprise my separated material energies. But besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which consists of all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Spiritual and material cannot be made one, for actually they are superior. And see, spiritual master, uh, the spirit and matter cannot be made one, for actually they are superior and inferior energies. Yet the Mayavadis or Advaita Vadis try to make them one. This is wrong. Although spirit and matter ultimately come from the same one source, they cannot be made one. For example, there are many things that come from our bodies, but although they come from the same source, they cannot be made one. We should be careful to note that although the supreme source is one, the emanation from his source, the emanation from this source should be separately regarded as inferior and superior. The difference between the Mayavada and Vaishnava philosophies is that the Vaishnava philosophy recognizes this fact. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, therefore, is called Achintya Veda Aveda, simultaneously and one and difference. For example, fire and heat cannot be separated. For where there is fire, there is heat, and when there and where there is heat, there is fire. Nonetheless, although we cannot touch fire, heat we can touch. We can tolerate. I'm sorry. Heat we can tolerate. Therefore, although they are one, they are different. Okay. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva philosophy. Text 40. When Lord Brahma returned after a moment of time had passed, according to his own measurement, he saw that although by human measurement a complete year had passed, Lord Krishna, after all that time, was engaged just as before in playing with the boys and calves, who were his expansions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma had gone away for only a moment of his time, but when he returned, a year of human time had passed. On different planets, the calculation of time is different. To give an example, a man-made satellite may orbit the Earth in an hour and 25 minutes, and thus complete one full day, although a day ordinarily takes 24 hours for those living on Earth. Therefore, what was but a moment for Brahma was 1 year on Earth. Krishna continued to expand himself in so many forms for 1 year, but by arrangement of Yoga Maya, only one could understand this but Balarama. After 1 moment of Brahma's calculation, Brahma came back to see fun caused by his stealing the boys and calves. But he was also afraid that he was playing with fire. Krishna was his master, and he had played mischief for fun by taking away Krishna's calves and boys. He was really anxious, so he did not stay away very long. He came back after a moment of his calculation. When Brahma returned, he saw that all the boys, calves, and cows were playing with Krishna in the same way as when he had come upon them. By Krishna's display of Yoga Maya, the same pastimes were going on without any change. On the day when Lord Brahma had first come, Baladeva could not go with Krishna and the cowherd boys, for it was his birthday. Ah, very good. For it was his birthday, and his mother had kept him back for the proper ceremonial bath called Santika Snana. Therefore, Lord Baladeva was not taken by Brahma at that time. Now, 1 year later, Brahma returned, and because he returned on exactly the same day, Baladeva was again kept at home for his birthday. Therefore, although this verse mentions that Brahma saw Krishna and all the cowherd boys, Baladeva is not mentioned. It was 5 or 6 days earlier that Baladeva had inquired from Krishna about the karma, about the, I'm sorry, uh, uh, it was 5 or 6 days earlier that Baladeva had inquired from Krishna about the extraordinary affection of the cows and cowherd men. But now, when Brahma returned, Brahma saw all the cows, all the calves, and cowherd boys playing with Krishna as expansions of Krishna. But he did not see Baladeva. As in the previous year, Lord Baladeva did not go to the woods on the day Lord Brahma appeared there. Text 41. Lord Brahma thought, whatever boys and calves there were in Gokula, I have kept them sleeping on the bed of my mystic potency. And to this very day, they have not yet risen. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For 1 year, Lord Brahma kept the calves and boys lying down in a cave by his mystic power. Therefore, when Brahma saw Lord Krishna still playing with all the cows and calves, he began trying to reason about this, about what about what was happening. What is this? He thought. Maybe I took the calves and cowherd boys away, but now they have been taken from that cave. Is this what has happened? Has Krishna brought them back here? Then, however, Lord Brahma saw that the calves and boys he had taken were still in the same mystic Maya into which he had put them. Thus, he concluded that the calves and cowherd boys now playing with them were different from the ones in the caves. He could understand that although the original calves and boys were still in the cave where he had put them, Krishna had expanded himself, and so the present demonstration of calves and boys consisted of expansions of Krishna. They had the same features, the same mentality, and the same intentions, but they were all Krishna. Only Krishna can do that. Text 42. A similar number of boys and calves have been playing with Krishna for 1 whole year. Yet they are different from the ones illusioned by my mystic power, by my mystic potency. Who are they? Where did they come from? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although appearing like calves, cows, and cowherd, these were all Vishnu. Actually, they were Vishnu Tattva, not Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. Brahma was surprised. The original cowherd boys and calves, he thought, are still where I put them last year. So who is it that is now keeping company with Krishna exactly as before? Where have they come from? Brahma was surprised that his mystic power had been neglected. Without touching the original cows and cowherd boys kept by Brahma, Krishna had created another assembly of of calves and boys who were all expansions of Vishnu Tattva. Thus, Brahma's mystic power was superseded. Yep. Text 43. Thus, Lord Brahma, thinking and thinking for a long time, tried to distinguish between those two sets of boys who were each separately existing. He tried to understand who was real and who was not real, but he couldn't understand at all. 1 second. I have to. 1 second. Brahma was puzzled. The original boys and calves were still sleeping as I have kept them, he thought. But another set is here playing with Krishna. How has this happened? Brahma could not grasp what was happening. Which boys were real and which were not real? Brahma was unable to come to any definite conclusion. He pondered the matter for a long while. How can there be two sets of calves and boys at the same time? Have the boys and calves here been created by Krishna, or has Krishna created the ones lying asleep, or are both merely creations of Krishna? Brahma thought about the subject in many different ways. After all, I go to the cave and see that the boys and calves are still there. Does Krishna go take them away and put them here so that I come here and see them? And does Krishna then take them from here and put them there? Brahma could not figure out how there could be two sets of calves and cowherd boys exactly alike. Although thinking and thinking, he could not understand at all. Text 44. Thus, because Lord Brahma wanted to mystify the all-pervading Lord Krishna, who can never be mystified, but who, on the contrary, mystifies the entire universe, he himself was put into bewilderment by his own mystic power. Purport. Brahma wanted to bewilder Krishna, who bewilders the entire universe. The whole universe is under Krishna's mystic power. Mama Maya Duratyaya. But Brahma wanted to mystify him. The result was that Brahma himself was mystified. Just as one who wants to kill another may himself be killed. In other words, Brahma was defeated by his own attempt. In a similar position are the scientists and philosophers. Wonderful, wonderful. Who want to overcome the mystic power of Krishna. They challenge Krishna, saying, "What is God? We can do this and we can do that." But the more they challenge Krishna in this way, the more they are implicated in suffering. The lesson here is that we should not try to overcome Krishna. Rather, instead of endeavoring to surpass Krishna, we should surrender to him. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam saranam vraja. Instead of defeating Krishna, Brahma himself was defeated, for he could not understand what Krishna was doing. Since Brahma, the chief person within this universe, was so bewildered, what is to be said of so-called scientists and philosophers? Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam saranam vraja. We should give up all our tiny efforts that defy the arrangement of Krishna. Instead, whatever arrangements he proposes, we should accept. This is always better, for this will make us happy. The more we try to defeat the arrangement of Krishna, the more we become implicated in Krishna's Maya. Daivihi esa guna Mai mama Mai durateya. By one who has reached the point of surrendering to the instructions of Krishna, Mam evaye prapadyante, is liberated free from Krishna Maya. The Mayam etam tarantite. The power of Krishna is just like a government that cannot be overcome. First of all, there are laws, and then there is police power, and beyond this is military power. Therefore, what is the use of trying to overcome the power of the government? Similarly, what is the use of trying to challenge Krishna? Very good. I like that. From the next verse, it is clear that Krishna cannot be defeated by any kind of mystic power. If one gets even a little power of scientific knowledge, one tries to defy God, but actually no one is able to do Krishna. When Brahma, the chief person within the universe, tried to bewilder Krishna, he himself was bewildered and astonished. This is the position of the conditioned soul. Rama wanted to mystify Krishna, but he himself was mystified. The word Vishnu is significant in this verse. Vishnu pervades the entire material world, whereas Brahma merely occupies one subordinate post. Yashaikanishvasitakaram atavanambhya Shivanti Lama Vidaja Jaganandanata Brahma Samhita 548. The word Nata, which refers to Lord Brahma, is plural because there are innumerable universes and innumerable Brahmas. Brahma is but a tiny fourth. This was exhibited in Dwarka when Krishna called for Brahma. One day, when Brahma came to see Krishna at Dwarka, the doorman at Lord Krishna's request asked, "Which Brahma are you?" Later, when Brahma inquired from Krishna whether this meant that there was more than one Brahma, Krishna smiled and at once called for many Brahmas from many universes. The four-headed Brahma of this universe then saw innumerable other Brahmas coming to see Krishna and offer their respects. Some of them had 10 heads, some had 20, some had 100, and some had 1,000,000 heads. Upon seeing this wonderful exhibition, the four-headed Brahma became nervous and began to think of himself as no more than a mosquito in the midst of many elephants. Therefore, what can Brahma do to bewilder Krishna? Wow, wonderful. Text 45. As the darkness of snow on a dark night and the light of a glowworm in the light of day have no value, the mystic power of an inferior person who tries to use it against a person of great power is unable to accomplish anything. Instead, the power of that inferior person is diminished. Well, this is what's happening today with the modern scientists. They're trying to go to the moon, and all the efforts they make to go to the moon are uh, are not successful. And they claim that they went to the moon like 60 years ago. And they're still trying to go to the moon 60 years after 60 years have passed. And they still can't do it. And they're never going to do it. Therefore, we should be satisfied living on the earth and make the best of a bad bargain and not try and go to places like the moon or Mars or places like that. Because number one, our body is not made to exist naturally on the moon or the other planets. But anyway, they're still wasting so much time and money going nowhere, and even to the point of claiming falsely that they went there. Purport: when one wants to supersede a superior power, one's own inferior power becomes ludicrous. Just as a glowworm in the daytime and snow at night have no value. Yeah, why don't you look up, Prabhu? So the so-called, scientists and the moon uh, landings happened, I think, 60 years ago. How come they're not able to go to the moon now?
Yes,
Actually, they never went to the moon even 60 years ago. But they made a big, let's say, a big a big uh, what do you call it? Propaganda that they went to the moon 60 years ago. But they haven't, they're not saying that they're going to the moon now after 60 years. So they've never went to the moon. It was just a hoax to try and make get money for their explorations. But they have not really, up until now, gone to the moon.
so I have asked ChatGPT, Maharaj.
Yeah.
So it says the short answer is we stopped going to the moon not because we cannot, but because priorities, cost, and politics changed. And now we are preparing to go back.
Ha ha ha. Now we're going to try and go again. Yeah, nonsense. That's complete nonsense.
So their key points are extremely expensive, and then public interest dropped, and then shift in priorities.
The whole thing is nonsense. They didn't go previously, and they're not going to go now either.
And this is why has not anyone going back until now?
Yeah, okay.
Because for decades there was no urgent reason.
Well, what?
Because for decades there was no
Decades. Decades.
Because for decades there was no urgent reason. Second point is robots were cheaper and safer.
What does that mean, robot? Well, are they sending robots to the moon?
Um, looks like Maharaj.
No.
Means they are planning maybe, or they are working on it.
Okay.
So human moon missions were not worth the cost without a strong political or economical goal. And are we going back now? Answer is yes. The, the time, the goal is long-term presence, not just planning a flag.
No, it's all cheating. Completely cheating. They haven't gone to the moon. They didn't go to the moon 60 years ago, and they're not going to the moon now. They're just talking blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're on text 45, and our time is not over, right?
No.
Yeah. When one wants to supersede a superior power, one's own inferior power becomes ludicrous, just as a glowworm in the daytime and snow at night have no value. Brahma's mystic power became worthless in the presence of Krishna. For a greater mystic power condemns inferior mystic power. On a dark night, the darkness produced by snow has no meaning. The glowworm appears very important at sight, but in the daytime, its glow has no value. Whatever little value it has is lost. Similarly, Brahma became insignificant in the presence of Krishna's mystic power. Krishna's Maya was not diminished in value, but Brahma's Maya was condemned. Therefore, one should not try to exhibit one's insignificant opulence before a greater power. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Text 46. Then, while Lord Brahma looked on, all the calves and the boys tending them immediately appeared to have complexions the color of bluish rain clouds and to be dressed in yellow silken garments. That's beautiful. Purport. While Brahma was contemplating, all the calves and cowherd boys immediately transformed into Vishnu Murtis, having bluish complexion and wearing yellow garments. Brahma was contemplating his own power and the immense, unlimited power of Krishna. But before he could come to an accord, he saw his immediate transformation. Okay. Text 47 and 48. All those personalities had four arms, holding conch shell, disc, mace, and lotus flower in their hands. They wore helmets on their head, earrings on their ears, and garlands of forest flowers around their necks. On the upper portion of the right side of their leaves, on the proper portion of the right side of their chests was the emblem of the goddess of fortune. Furthermore, they wore armlets on their arms and kostuba gems around their necks, which were marked with three lines alike, a conch shell and broken bracelets on their waists. With bangles on their ankles, ornaments on their feet, and sacred belts around their waists, They all appeared very beautiful. Okay, very good. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. All the Vishnu forms had four arms, with conch shell and other articles. But these characteristics are also possessed by those who have attained Sarupya Mukti in Vaikuntha, and who consequently have forms exactly like the form of the Lord. However, these Vishnu forms appearing before Lord Brahma also possess the mark of Shiva and the Kaustuba jewel, which are special characteristics possessed only by the Supreme Lord Himself. This proves that all these boys and calves were in fact directly expansions of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, not merely as associates of value. Not calves were. This proves that all these boys and calves were in fact directly expansions of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, not merely his associates of Vaikuntha. Vishnu himself is included within Krishna. All the opulences of Vishnu are already present in Krishna, and consequently, for Krishna to demonstrate so many Vishnu forms was actually not very astonishing. The Srivatsa mark is described by the Vyasadeva Tosani as being a curfew, or a curfew. The Srivatsa mark is described by the Vaishnava Tosani as being a curl of fine yellow hair on the upper portion of the right side of the who's on that side. I'll take that. Yeah. The Srivasa mark is descended by the Vaishnava Tosani as being a curl of fine yellow hair on the upper portion of the right side of Lord Vishnu's chest. This mark is not for ordinary devotees. It is a special mark of Vishnu or Krishna. Okay. Text 49. Every part of their bodies, from their feet to the top of their heads, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulsi leaves offered by devotees engaged in worshiping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. Yeah, very important to continue hearing and chanting. I think that's important. Okay.
Will you pause the class?
Huh?
You want to pause the class or?
Is it time?
We are close to time, but it's up to you, man. Whenever.
Oh, we'll do one more. Yeah. Every part of their bodies, from their feet to the top of their head, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulsi leaves offered by devotees engaged in worshiping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. That's so important, hearing and chanting. Purport: the word Buri Punyavad Arpitai is significant in this verse. These forms of Vishnu were worshipped by those who had performed pious activities, Sukritibihi, for many births and who were constantly engaged in devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Bhakti, devotional service, is the engagement of those who have performed highly developed pious activities. The accumulation of pious activities has already been mentioned elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.12.11, where Sukadeva Goswami says, Itiham satam brahma sukhan ubhutya dasyam gatanam para daivatena maya shritanam nara daratena sakam vicharu krita punya punja. Those who are engaged in self-realization, appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, and those engaged in devotional service, accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, as well as those who are under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, cannot understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. In our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavana, there is a tamala tree that covers an entire corner of the courtyard. Yeah, I've been there. And Prabhupada did not let the devotees cut that tree. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected, but now it has developed very luxuriously, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Puri Punya. Okay, this is Puri Punya. Something that is transcendental. So in our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, there is a tamala tree that covers an entire corner of the courtyard. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected, but now it has developed very luxuriantly, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Buddhi Punya. So that means it's a sign of uh, the potency, the spiritual potency of the tree that's in one part of the temple. And every day is hearing the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So previously uh, it was like something that was very weak and not so uh, important, but now it's very important because the devotees are always chanting Hare Krishna. And it says giving what you would call uh, power to uh, the tree in the temple. Okay, so then text 50. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resemble the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, those Vishnu forms bless the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resemble the increasingly full light of the moon. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. As maintainers, they glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by smiling. Their smiles resembled the mode of goodness, protecting all the desires of the devotees, and the glancing of their eyes resembled the mode of passion. Actually, in this verse, the word raja means not passion, but affection. In the material world, rajoguna is passion, but in the spiritual world, it is affection. Very important. Very important. In the material world, rajaguna is passion, but in the spiritual world, it is affection. In the material world, affection is contaminated by rajaguna and tamaguna, but in the Suddha Sattva, the affection that maintains the devotees is transcendental. So Suddha Sattva is transcendental goodness. Yeah. The word swakartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. Important point, very important point. The Lord Vishnu simply by his glance, all wonderful things happen. And it says here that, as mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desire of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desire. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. Yeah. So this is very important. The Lord Krishna's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. In the material world, desire is a product of Rajo Guna and Tamaguna, but desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus, the word swakartanam refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. In Vrindavana, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. So I think Prabhupada is talking about his Vrindavan temple. Text 51. All beings, both moving and non-moving, from the four-headed Lord Rama down to the most insignificant living entity, had taken forms and were differently worshipping those Vishnumurti according to their respective capacities, with various means of worship, such as dancing and singing. Very important in Krishna consciousness, the dancing and singing. Purport of Srila Prabhupada, innumerable living entities are engaged in different types of worship of the Supreme, according to their abilities and karma. But everyone is engaged. Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadasa. There is no one who is not serving. Therefore, the Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee, sees everyone as being engaged in the service of Krishna. Only himself does he see as not engaged. We have to elevate ourselves from a lower position to a higher position. And the topmost position is that of direct service in Vrindavana. But everyone is engaged in service. Denial of the service of the Lord is Maya. Ekale Ishwara Krishna Arasava Britya Yare Yacha na chaya se taiche kare nritya. Only Krishna is the supreme master, and all others are his servants. As Krishna desires, everyone dances according to his tune. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 5.142. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving trees. For example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creature, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. Yeah, let me just read that again. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving. Trees, for example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creatures, like the ants, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigods. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. Okay. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27 by the words Prakrite Kriyamanani Gunai, according to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigod. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways, but when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full bloom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Okay, what time is it now? I think our time is over.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, all right, so we'll stop right there. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways, but when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in a bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So it says, uh, all living entities are serving Krishna in different ways, but when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. So when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes in full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Haribol. So may we all experience this ultimate beauty and ultimate fulfillment of desire. All right, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Holy Krishna Mataji Jai. All glories to
Yes, Maharaj, your classes are always so inspiring, first of all. Thank you. My question is desires, even if we are praying to Krishna and chanting his name, sometimes they come even for small things, whether it's for health or something else. So how do we control that? Can you please explain? I mean, I'm not gonna not admit that I have few myself. So how do we get rid of that? Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Very good question. Very,
Thank
very
you.
well. In this purport, that is text 51, it says innumerable living entities are engaged in different types of worship of the Supreme, according to their abilities and karma. But everyone is engaged. Jivera Swarupahaya Krishna Nityadas. There is no one who is not serving. Therefore, the Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee, sees everyone as being engaged in the service of Krishna. Only himself does he see as not engaged. We have to elevate ourselves from a lower position to a higher position. And the topmost position is that of direct service in Vrindavan. But everyone is engaged in service. Denial of the service of the Lord is Maya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Master, and all others are his servants. As Krishna desires, everyone dances according to his tune. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving. Trees, for example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creature, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. Now, see, that's very important. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigods. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27 by the words Prakriti Kriyamanani, according to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigods. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a lotus flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So, what are we trying to do as devotees? We're trying to develop our Krishna consciousness by chanting and dancing and feasting and hearing lectures and giving lectures and always helping others to become Krishna conscious. And of course, going on Sankirtan. Therefore, the this verse that's given here, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishna Nityada. There is no one who is not serving. Therefore, the Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee, sees everyone as being engaged in the service of Krishna. Only himself does he see as not engaged. We have to elevate ourselves from a lower position to a higher position. And the topmost position is that of direct service to in Vrindavana. But everyone is engaged in service. Denial of the service of the Lord is Maya. Only Krishna is the supreme master, and all others are his servants. As Krishna desires, everyone dances according to his tune. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving. Trees, for example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creatures, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of the Lord. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigods. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 327, by the words Prakriti Kriyamanami, according to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigod. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when the living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So this is a very profound statement here, and we should pay attention to what's being said. And what is being said? One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigods. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27, by the words Prakriti Kriyamanami, according to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigods. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. That's why Prabhupada has taught us to be engaged in Krishna conscious activities, serving Krishna in different ways. That will lead us to service that is fully manifest. Just as a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity, in other words, a devotee, comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So, we should take example given here. We should take to Krishna consciousness very seriously. Then we become beautiful in our full blossom of Krishna consciousness. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So by becoming Krishna conscious, we become fulfilled for all desires to do devotional service for the Lord. And because of doing that devotional service for the Lord, without any stopping, we become beautiful. Ultimate ultimate beauty and ultimate fulfillment of desire. We become ultimately beautiful, and ultimately all our desires for devotional service will be satisfied. That is our takeaway for today. Engaging in devotional service is very, very important. It is the real life of a devotee. And the more devotional service one performs, the more strength and desire to serve increases, and the more beautiful a person is. It's not a mundane beauty, it is the shining, transcendental beauty of a person who is Krishna conscious and dedicated always to serving Krishna with love and devotion. That's why it says here all living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in a bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So that ultimate beauty is revealed due to the ultimate fulfillment of desire. If we desire to serve the deity and serve Prabhupada and Krishna, then we develop this transcendental beauty. And all our desires for service and devotion will be satisfied or fulfilled. And that's a fact. You know, a person who becomes a devotee and engages in devotional service sincerely and without any, uh, let's say, material desires, only desires to please Krishna, they become uh, very beautiful. And all their desires of service to please Krishna will be fulfilled. So we should take to devotional service very seriously and never give up devotional service. If we never give up devotional service, then our real beauty as a human being devotee will be manifested. So that means that our desire to be Krishna conscious will be uh, fully satisfied, and always, obviously, if we maintain that service, we go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay, so our takeaway for today. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in a bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma, the beauty, aroma and beauty. So, when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes to full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. That's so profound. This statement is so profound. So, when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of its real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Prabhupada is such a wonderful writer, and he's see. Okay, so the verse, text 51 says, all beings, both moving and non-moving, from the four-headed Lord Brahma down to the most insignificant living entity, had taken forms and were differently worshipping those Vishnu Murtis according to their respective capacities, with various means of worship, such as dancing and singing. So, uh, if we engage seriously in devotional service and do not stop under any circumstances, then what happens? As Krishna desires, everyone dances according to his tune. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving. Trees, for example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creatures, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigod. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27, by the words Prakrite Kriyamanani, according to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigods. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways. But when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes to full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Such wonderful texts. So when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. Hari Bol. All glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nobody else can write like this. Nobody. Yes.
So Maharaj, here the word comes, his real form comes into full blossom. So real form, does it mean the eternal servant of the Lord? That's a real form.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Real form means your engagement in devotional service. You're no longer a karmi, you become completely dedicated to Krishna. And you're beautiful. You're beautiful by all the nice things that you do for Krishna. Chanting, dancing, and teaching others to be Krishna conscious. You become beautiful.
Mm.
Real beauty. It's not the phony beauty. Real beauty. And one very important example of that is, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name now. He was a wonderful devotee. Everybody loved him. Prabhupada loved him very much. And he was always serving. He would do things like, take the trash out, wash the dishes, and all kinds of things like that. Always engaged, never complaining. And he had real love for Prabhupada.
You talk Jayananda.
Jayananda Swami.
Jayananda, yes. So he blossomed. He blossomed. And he made everybody else felt very happy in his association. And they engaged in service with Jayananda. And here it says, one receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigod. This is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. So one receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. That's a profound statement. So, if you look at Jayananda, and if you look at his form, he's a very handsome man.
Mhm.
But it was not handsome in the sense of, a movie star. Handsome in the sense of pure devotion for Prabhupada, pure love and devotion for Prabhupada. And you can see it in his face. He was a very sincere person, and he loved Prabhupada. So, and that's therefore here it says, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Okay, let's meditate on this today. So when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Haribol. You see how important it is to be Krishna conscious. Very important. So when we become Krishna conscious, our service is fully manifest. And then, when one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhupada, for these purports. Tremendous tremendous knowledge here. Okay, any more questions or comments? Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Please take this devotional service very, very seriously. There are wonderful things that happen to you when you take it seriously. One thing is you become beautiful, but not mundane beauty, transcendental beauty. And we should always be engaged in devotional service. That's why it says here, when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Wow, what a statement that is. When the living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So, we should come to Krishna consciousness and maintain it so that our real ultimate beauty and ultimate fulfillment of desire will happen. What is our ultimate desire? It's to go back to Godhead. And what is the ultimate beauty? It's to be engaged in devotional service and helping others to become Krishna conscious and being free of all nonsense, being always very serious and happy. And because of that, making other people happy also. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. So, and our takeaway is, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Wow. Nobody knows how to write like Prabhupada. Prabhupada's just amazing. Okay, well, thank you very much, my devotee. My dear devotees, please have a good day. Chant Hare Krishna and engage in devotional service and become beautiful. Your real beauty will be shown by that devotional service, and you'll be fully blossomed into pure devotional service. And all your spiritual desires will be fulfilled. Can't ask anything better than that. Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to meditate on this today.